She once ruled country music's biggest stages. But today, Barbara Mandrell lives a life few would recognize. In the late 1970s, Saturday nights belonged to Barbara Mandrell, the golden voice of country pop who could outsing, outplay, and outshine almost anyone in Nashville. Millions tuned in to see her perform dazzling duets, wearing sequin gowns that sparkled brighter than the stage lights themselves. But when those lights dimmed, Barbara returned to a far quieter world, one shaped by pain, loss, and the haunting price of fame. Her story isn't just about chart-topping hits and glimmering awards. It's about the silent sacrifices hidden behind every standing ovation. So what really happened after America's favorite country, Queen, walked away from the microphone? And why do some say that once you learn how she lives now, you'll never hear her music the same way again? Stay tuned, because Barbara Mandrell's journey from spotlight to solitude reveals a truth few have ever seen. Barbara Ann Mandrell was born on December 25, 1948 in Houston, Texas, a Christmas gift wrapped in melody. From the start, music wasn't just a part of her family, it was the language they spoke. Her father, Irby, managed and played in bands, while her mother, Mary, harmonized with a voice that could calm a storm. By age 5, Barbara was picking out songs on the accordion. By 11, she could play steel guitar, saxophone, and banjo, a lineup that would intimidate even the most seasoned Nashville players. Her father recognized the spark and became her lifelong mentor, guiding her with discipline and a dream to make Barbara the best. In the early 1960s, while most kids her age were still learning their times tables, Barbara was performing on national stages. Country legend Joe Maphis saw her at a talent show and was so impressed he invited her to tour with him. For the young girl from Houston, it was the beginning of everything: bright lights, roaring crowds, and a future spinning faster than she could ever imagine. Her teen years were a blur of rehearsals, long road trips, and endless applause. She wasn't just another singer. She was a musical phenomenon, mastering instruments and vocals with equal brilliance. But behind her calm smile, the pressure was mounting. Fame was coming sooner than anyone expected, and once it arrived, it wouldn't let go. By the early 1970s, Barbara Mandrell had transformed from a prodigy into one of country music's brightest stars. Her blend of talent and charisma stood out in a world where women often fought to be heard. She didn't just sing about heartbreak. She played the steel guitar, the bass, and even the saxophone on stage, proving she could hold her own with any band in Nashville. When Barbara signed with Columbia Records in 1969, her career began to soar. But it was after joining ABC/Records that the Mandrell magic truly hit its stride. Songs like Sleeping Single in a Double Bed and If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right, turned her into a household name. Her sound, a mix of traditional country roots and smooth pop influence, brought her fans far beyond the southern states. Television soon came calling. In 1980, Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters premiered, lighting up Saturday nights across America. It wasn't just a show, it was an event. Barbara, joined by her sisters Louise and Earlene, delivered music, comedy, and energy that radiated warmth and family charm. For 3 dazzling years, the variety show dominated the ratings, earning Barbara multiple awards and the title of Entertainer of the Year twice. But under the glitter of the spotlight, the cost of that success began to reveal itself. Long days turned into sleepless nights, and rehearsals bled into exhaustion. Barbara was living her dream, but also chasing perfection in a world that never stopped demanding more. As the applause thundered louder, something quieter inside her began to fade. On September 11th, 1984, Barbara Mandrell's unstoppable rise came to a sudden, devastating halt. That afternoon, while driving near her Nashville home, she was struck head-on by a teenage driver who crossed the center line. The crash was brutal. Barbara's car was destroyed, her body shattered. She suffered multiple fractures, a concussion, and temporary memory loss. For weeks, She lay in recovery, her world reduced to hospital walls and faint echoes of the career she'd built. The woman who once dazzled millions couldn't remember lyrics, couldn't stand on stage, couldn't even recognize her own songs. Doctors told her it would take months, maybe years, to heal. For Barbara, it felt like she had lost everything that defined her. But the truth was even heavier. The young driver in the other car didn't survive. The guilt, though it wasn't her fault, haunted Barbara deeply. She often said that while her body eventually mended, her spirit carried scars that never fully disappeared. When she finally returned to the stage, fans cheered her bravery. But behind the applause was a woman forever changed, more fragile, more human. That accident didn't just end a chapter in her career. It rewrote her entire life. And though she would go on to record again, something in Barbara had quietly shifted. The joy of performing was replaced with an ache that no standing ovation could heal. After the accident, Barbara Mandrell did what few could. She fought her way back. Within a year, she was performing again, smiling on stage, shimmering in sequins, her voice as pure as ever. But inside, something had changed. The stage that once felt like home now carried a quiet fear, a reminder of how fragile everything could be. Still, she pushed forward. In 1987, she released Sure Feels Good, followed by I'll Be Your Jukebox Tonight a few years later. The albums were strong, heartfelt, and honest, proof that Barbara could still command country music's center stage. She continued collecting awards, performing at sold-out venues and gracing magazine covers. To the public, she seemed unstoppable. Yet behind the fame, Barbara longed for something simpler. Her heart wasn't in the spotlight anymore. It was at home with her husband, Ken Dudney, and their 3 children. She once said that fame gave her everything she wanted, but also took away the one thing she needed most: peace. By the early 1990s, Barbara had made a decision few could understand. She announced her retirement from performing at just 44 years old. To her fans, it was unthinkable, but to Barbara, it was the only way to reclaim her life. Her farewell concert in 1997 was both triumphant and heartbreaking. As she sang her final song, tears filled the eyes of fans who had followed her since the very beginning. When she stepped off the stage that night, she didn't just end a performance, she closed an era. When the applause faded for the last time, Barbara Mandrell did something few stars ever manage. She disappeared gracefully. No grand farewell tours, no reality shows, no attempts to chase the fame that once defined her. She simply walked away. In the years that followed, Barbara found comfort in the quiet rhythms of family life. She devoted her time to raising her children, supporting her husband, and finding her faith again. The woman who once dazzled television screens now spent mornings tending her garden, attending church, and cherishing the silence that fame had stolen from her. But leaving the spotlight didn't mean the world forgot her. In 2009, she was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, a moment that honored her as one of the genre's most versatile and respected artists. Her name still echoed through Nashville, not just as a performer, but as a pioneer, one who opened doors for women to stand strong in a male-dominated industry. Yet, when asked about her legacy, Barbara's response was humble. She said she was proud of her past, but even prouder of the life she'd built after it. A life that wasn't measured in trophies or ratings, but in love, faith, and family. To the fans who hoped for a comeback, Barbara's answer was always the same. She had nothing left to prove. The woman who once ruled Saturday nights was content to let her music speak for her, softly, eternally, from the echoes of another time. Today, at 75 years old, Barbara Mandrell lives far from the noise of fame. Her home outside Nashville is a sanctuary of calm, surrounded by trees, family photos, and memories of a life lived in full color. She no longer grants interviews often, and when she does, her voice carries the soft steadiness of someone who has finally found peace. Friends say she spends her days reading, volunteering at her church, and enjoying simple routines that bring her joy. The woman who once dazzled millions now values moments that most people overlook: a sunrise, a home-cooked meal, the laughter of grandchildren. And yet, her influence remains everywhere. Young artists still study her performances, her crisp professionalism, her unmatched versatility, and her unshakable poise. In an industry obsessed with comebacks and reinvention, Barbara's decision to stay retired feels almost radical. She chose authenticity over attention. But there's also a melancholy that follows her story, a sense that the world lost one of its brightest voices too soon. Fans still leave comments online, saying they wish she'd sing just one more song, step on stage one last time. But Barbara doesn't need the spotlight to prove who she is. She already gave the world her best, and she knows that's enough. Her life now may seem quiet to outsiders, but for Barbara Mandrell, it's the ending she always wanted: peaceful, private, and filled with gratitude. Looking back, Barbara Mandrell's journey feels almost like a song itself, one that rises with triumph, dips into sorrow, and fades into a soft, graceful ending. She began as a child prodigy, dazzled the world with her talent, and then chose peace over applause. Few artists ever managed to step away at the height of their fame. Even fewer manage to find happiness after they do. Barbara did both. Her story isn't tragic, it's human. It reminds us that behind every spotlight is a person who eventually longs for stillness, that the same drive that builds legends can also burn them out. Barbara Mandrell's legacy isn't just in her gold records or television specials. It's in the courage to say enough and mean it. Today, when her songs play, I was country when country wasn't cool. Sleeping single in a double bed, crackers, they carry a bittersweet echo, a reminder of a voice that shaped an era, and a woman who lived every note of her own melody. So if her life now seems quiet, it's because she earned that silence. After all the chaos, the crowds, the flashing lights, Barbara Mandrell finally got what she'd been chasing all along: peace.